Hey kiddos, welcome to the morning. I hope you're doing amazing. Today we're going to be talking about these two words. We're going to be talking about the word compare and we're going to be talking about the word contrast. So those are our main focus this week on your test. There'll be a lot of comparing and contrasting on our test. So what exactly do they mean? What does this word contrast mean? Well, the word contrast can mean what is the difference between something? How are they different? Another word that means contrast is differ. So differ, difference, and contrast all mean the same thing. It all means how are they different? Well, what does compare mean? If contrast means how they're different, the word compare means the opposite. The word compare means how are they the same? What things about them makes them the same? Or another word for same is the word similar, similar. Or another word would be similarity. All of those words mean compare. How are they the same? So I would like you to read these words with me as I hold them up. Contrast, differ, difference, compare, same, similar, similarity. All of those words mean the same thing. So similar, similarity, same, and compare mean how are they the same. And contrast means the opposite. It means how are they different. Difference, differ. Those are how words that mean difference. So today that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be comparing and contrasting different things. For this activity, you will need a whiteboard or a piece of paper. I would like you to set up your piece of paper just like this. S is standing for how are they the same, and D standing for how are they different. So if you would stop the video and set up your paper just like this, we'll be able to start. So again, pause the video until you have your paper set up just like this. All right, kiddos, let's go ahead and get started. So today we're talking about comparing and contrasting something. These are two animals. These animals are similar in some ways and they're different in other ways. So how are these things similar? Well, they both have ears. They have ears that are pointy. They're both white. They both are fluffy or have fur. They're both animals. That's how they're the same. Well, how are they different? Well, the obvious choice is one's a dog and one's a cat. You might say one is panting, the dog is holding out its tongue, and the cat is not. The eyes, the cat's eyes are blue, where the dog's eyes are dark. So also the dog has a collar and the cat does not. That is how they're different. So even though these animals are different, they do have similarities. They do have things that are the same or similar to one another. So, and we contrasted those as well. So we are going to read the scenario and then you're going to tell me how are they the same and how are they different. Keith and Danny are brothers. They both like to sing. Danny has red hair while Keith has dark brown. Danny is a mischievous boy who always seems to get into trouble. Keith is dependable and often helps his mom around the house. Keith and Danny have a sister, Lori. All right, this is where you are going to be using your sheet. So let me pull up our sheet real quick. You have a similar box and you have a different box. I would like you to write how are Keith and Danny similar and how are they different. So please write that on your paper. I'll pull this story down again. Look at this story again. Please write down how are they similar and how are they different. Please pause the video until you have all of the ways that they're similar and all the ways that they are different. Well, how are they similar? They're similar because they are brothers. They also have the same sister. That's really the only way that they're the same. Well, how are they different? There's lots of differences. Danny has red hair and he gets into trouble. When it says he's mischievous, that means to get into trouble. Keith has brown hair and is very dependable, which you might not be able to, let me move me down here, and is very dependable. So that's how they're different. All right, kiddos, we're ready for the next story. All right, here we go. Follow along with me as I read this story to you. Many people think that salamanders are a type of lizard because they have long tails and short legs. However, a salamander is not a lizard at all. Salamanders are a type of amphibian, where lizards are a reptile. Lizards have dry, scaly skin. By contrast, a salamander's skin is smooth and moist. Unlike a lizard, salamanders live in water. All right, kiddos, we're going to do the same thing. Please look at this story and tell me how lizards and salamanders are the same, and tell me how they are different. Please pause this video until you have written how they are the same and how they are different on your piece of paper. All right, kiddos, this is how they're the same. They're the same because they both have long tails and short legs. That was found in the first sentence. Many people think that salamanders are a type of lizard because they have long tails and short legs. Well, how are they different? They are different because lizards are reptiles, and lizards also have dry skin. Salamanders are amphibians. They are smooth and have moist skin, and they live in water. All right, kiddos, we're ready for the next story. Telephones have changed a lot over the years. 50 years ago, phones were much bigger than they are now. They had dials instead of buttons. Not only that, every phone had a cord. There was no such thing as a wireless phone back then. Even though the technology was different, you could still use a phone to talk to someone 1,000 miles away. And you still had to pay the phone bill at the end of the month. All right, how are phones similar now and how are they different? Please pause the video, reread the story if you need to, and pick out how are they similar and how are they different, and write them down on your piece of paper. When you have them, please press play on the video. So, how are they similar? Well, phones are similar because we can still talk and we still have to pay the bill. How are they different? They were much bigger back then. They had dials instead of buttons, and every phone had a cord. So there are similarities between phones today and back then, but there's also differences as well. All right, next story. Lauren's cousin Mia was coming to stay with her family for a whole week. Lauren was worried. Even though they were the same age, Lauren felt like they did not have much in common. Lauren loved to play outside, while Mia would rather spend a day reading. Lauren stopped worrying when Mia walked through the door. She was carrying an armload of board games. Lauren loved playing games. So I need you on your piece of paper to write down how are Lauren and Mia similar and how are Lauren and Mia different. Make sure that you're writing your answers on your paper. Pause the video, reread the story if you need to find out how they're similar and different. When you're ready, please press play. All right, this is how they're similar. They're similar because they are cousins. They're also the same age and they both liked board games. How are they different? They are different because Lauren likes to play outside and Mia likes reading. All right, kiddos, here's our next story. Mrs. Jensen and Mrs. Lynn both made chocolate cupcakes for the school bake sale. Mrs. Jensen made hers from scratch. She made 5 different colors of frosting. Each of Mrs. Jensen's cupcakes looked like works of art. Mrs. Lynn used a store-bought cake mix to make her cupcakes, and she frosted them with icing from a can. Both women made 24 cupcakes. When the sale was over, not one was left. Please tell me how Mrs. Lynn and Mrs. Jensen cupcakes were the same, and please tell me how they were different. Pause this video now until you have all the ways that they were the same and all the ways that they were different. When you're ready, please press play. All right, this is how they were similar. They were similar because they both made cupcakes. They also made 2 dozen, and they all sold. How were they different? Mrs. Jensen's were made from scratch, and they look like works of art. There were 5 different colors of frosting. Mrs. Lynn's was the store-bought mix, and they bought frosting from a can. All right, kiddos, here we go. All right, kiddos, that's it for today. If you have questions about compare and contrast, please make sure to ask your teacher. Remember, when you compare, it's how are they the same? And when you contrast, it is how something is different. You will have this on your test on Friday. Talk to you soon.